This is Ray with School of Racing Graphics. In this demo video, I'm going to walk you through the remastered layers on the XR1 Dirt Late Model template. If you want to find this template, you can just go to srgfx.com and then type in XR1 or Dirt Late Model template into the search bar, and it'll be one of the items that pops up. This template really would actually work pretty well universally for any dirt late model body. You always need to expect adjustments before you're going to print anyway. And so if you're looking for a good presentation template, I would suggest this one. I just remastered it, redid all the layers, made it super organized. I just got some feedback from some people that got it and said it was a little bit difficult to use. So I went and combed through every single layer for FlexiSign, Adobe Illustrator, CorelDRAW, Adobe Photoshop, and just made it a lot easier to use, apply your graphics, and knock out projects in a quicker and more efficient way. So what I'm going to show you how to do here is basically change the colors within the template, and then apply graphics to the template. And then also I'm going to show you a couple of little things or tips and tricks that are specific to Adobe Illustrator that are really neat. But basically everything at the beginning of this video is going to be geared towards using this template in any design software. So the first thing I want to point to is I made the roll cage a lot easier to recolor. It used to be 3 colors. Now it's underneath transparent light and shadow layers. So all you have to do is select, and it'll select every element that is a roll cage. See, there's 3, top, left side, right side. Okay, and so when you select this or select all the objects within that layer, all you have to do is then click, and you could eyedropper or change the color using the color change tool in your design software. Number 2 is most of the shadow and light layers are all now on one layer. So instead of everything being broken up and individualized and made so that you could pick it all apart, I just combined it all. So it's super easy to like move or hide, and then you get access right away to the panels, which makes it just easier to change the colors and modify. I also made it easier to isolate each side in case you didn't want to work with the top or the right side and just wanted to work with the left side. Now you can grab it. You just grab all the elements in there and you can pull it aside. Same with this view here. You can just pull it aside, and that's going to go across every design software. So even in Photoshop, you'll be able to do that, deleting and removing, or even taking. I see a lot of people, they take the top view and they want to. Sorry, I gotta unclick that. Sorry. And then let's see here. Actually, you know what I'll do? I'll just lock these or hide them. So take the top view and then just rotate it. They want to rotate it down like that. And then they put it in front and scale it down in front of the other 2 views just so it could be viewed. So you could do that as well just by selecting everything that's within it. So I just use the direct select tool and then marquee it like that, and then it selects those items, but they're not going to be connected to any other items on any other side of the car. And again, that's across all the different software. Okay, so now that I've shown you that, I'll just show you a quick and dirty way of changing colors. And so I could just select all the panels here and then just change the color to like orange, and then go through and select the plastic and change it individually. You can see it's all named here, so I could select the nose, and if I wanted the nose to be black, I could do that. I could select the plastic, and if I wanted it to be red, I could do that. And so the only panel layers that are not going to be in the one that says panel is the toplet, or the top of the car, the sail panels and the roof, because what I wanted to do was make a topless layer. And so before, the way this was organized and the way it had to be organized was I had different layers in different places as far as the topless went. And so turning it topless, you had to click 4 different areas. So now you just use these 3 here. You turn them off, and then you have a topless view for the dirt late model, and then turn it back on. And so essentially what you have is topless rivets, and then you have topless light and shadows, and then you have the topless panels right there. And so it's really important that when you're creating your clipping mask for the side panels that you would have to create a separate clipping mask for these panels here. But if you want to change them, you would just go into the topless area there and you can make them match whatever else is going on the car. So I can eyedropper here like so. And then you just turn those other layers back on like that. So, all right, so I'm gonna back out and get all my colors back like so. And then bringing graphics into the template in a really easy way. There's a couple of different things. One thing I like to do if I'm gonna work directly in the template and I'm not gonna link a file, which I'm gonna show you how to do here in a second. But one thing I like to do is I would turn off all the layers that I don't need while I'm designing. So I would just turn all these off, leave my panels layer on, leave my put graphics layer on, and then even turn these off. And then I'm left with just these simple shapes. And then I can easily change the colors of them without having to pick through or know if I'm picking on the light and shadow layers. And so if I was to turn these off, keep them off. The other thing you could do is you could show everything and then you could lock everything. So all I did is I just click one and drag and it locks everything. So now I can't select anything. But then I can unlock the panels, unlock the graphics layer. Then everything is there, but nothing can be selected except for the panels, if that makes sense. And then this tool has got a different name in every design software, but it's pretty universal to every vector design software. The only one that's not going to have it is going to be Adobe Photoshop because it's a raster-based design software, or GIMP. But all the vectors will: Inkscape, CorelDRAW, FlexiSign, Adobe Illustrator, Affinity Designer. You select one item and you want to select all the items that are that same color. You would go to Select, Same, Fill Color, and it selects everything on the board. And then you could either change the swatch or just eyedropper down here, or create the color, just change the color here into a color that you want it to be, and then all the colors will change throughout. And the other option too is, like I showed you before, is to just go here and select all the plastic like that. So I like to know all the options because let's say you get an artboard that is full of, it's hundreds of colors, but you really only need 3 colors, but you got 79 shades of blue. I know that's hypothetical. I know that doesn't happen, but you want to narrow it all down. So you would start selecting same fill color or using the color picker tool and get it all narrowed down into one, or be able to find that one color like, there's all these blues, but I only need this one blue to change. And so then you would select the one you need, and then it finds all that blue in the art, and then bam, you can change it in one click. Just makes it far, far easier to do. So what I'll do for now, I'm going to keep this super simple. I'm not going to do any kind of an amazing design or anything like that. I'm just going to bring this design in. So I'm not going to do a design from scratch is what I mean. I'm just going to bring in a pre-made one so you kind of get the idea of how this is done. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually simplify this. This does not need to be like that. And I'm going to get this lined up. So this is already all lined up for this template, okay? And then what I'm going to do is just use this template. So it comes with the 2 side views, and these line up with the detail template, but they're life size. Now, like I said before, always expect to adjust. I left these little gaps here so you can see that they are separate. And then according to your measurements that you get from your client, you can adjust them. So whenever I say adjust your print template, I mean take this and like adjust it up or down, however many increments in inches you need to get it as accurate as possible to your print template. You want your print template to be extremely accurate. You're probably not going to print with your rake. You're probably going to print in a straight line, and then when you apply it, follow the rake on the car. So anyway, these are separate. So they don't line up 100% perfect with the template because I separated them. So you would have to come back in and close these in and to make it perfect, and maybe possibly even nudge it around. So what I'm going to do is just close them up for now, and I could come back and perfect it later. Like that. And I'm just going to focus on that side of the car for now. I'm not going to do the top and the left side of the car. And so I'll group these together, and then I'm going to grab this hot point here, and I'm going to want to bring it into my put graphics layer. or yeah, put graphics here layer, which is right here. So I got to make sure it's selected and make sure paste remembers layers isn't on. Otherwise it will take whatever the layer name is over here and it'll paste it in here. And we don't want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and select that and copy and paste it. And let's see. See how it came in really big? Now I could have sized it down and followed these instructions here. That's what these instructions are saying to do. And so it's 11 inches. So I need to actually select that one as well because it's 11 inches on the canvas. And then I'm going to copy that over to the detail template. So I'll delete this out, zoom back in. And then I'm going to go ahead and zero this out according to this. Get it back selected. All right, I'm going to group it together for a minute. And I'll just pull this down here and then snag this. Got to unlock my hot corners, snag that. And then I'm going to go left and up. And you'll see it all lines up pretty well. You may have to come in and nudge a few things around just because we adjusted that template according to, you saw me nudging it around in there before. So just nudge that, nudge that. Just get that red covered up as best as you can. Like that. And like so. So I'd say that's pretty good. All right, and that's how I would bring that template over. But it doesn't matter if I have not got any graphics applied to it. So that's how I would bring it and get it sized into this template. So I'm going to delete that out. Okay, and now I'm going to take my graphics that I have here. I got it all grouped together. It's kind of sloppy, but I wanted to make this super simple. So I'm going to bring it over here, undo this, get my graphics lined up and sized in to where this is. It's already lined up for the template, right? Like that. I got my nudge tool set up really, really, really small increments. So it's moving, just not very fast. So I'll just move it by eye here. And then I'm going to grab it because now I've got it placed correctly. Now I want to point something. Can't have any elements that are going past the canvas. This hot corner has to be the leftmost and the topmost as far as getting it aligned correctly. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to hit Shift E, which is going to select the eraser tool in Adobe Illustrator. And I'm just going to hold down Shift and then pull it through, and it's going to pull a straight line, and then I can just delete that off. I don't need it. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is take this over, copy that. I'm going to bring this to, because let's say I had graphics that ran out onto the nose. I would want to clip that in, and so I'll bring that over. Well, I'll grab it in a little bit. We're not going to do that right now. All right, so I'm going to grab this. Just like I had just designed on this canvas, right? It's just as though I had designed on the canvas. Really, we're just skipping that design process part and getting right to applying the graphics. And then I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to size it down to 11 inches with both hot corners selected. Now I'm going to copy it and bring it over. Okay, and I'll make sure it's grouped together just in case. And this is the hot corner, and bam, just like that. And you can see I might need to nudge it around just a little bit, so I'm going to do that. Like so. Okay, and then so I got the design went in pretty simply because I put it on this layer here, right? Okay, but our problem now is that we don't have a clipping mask, right? It's not clipped to the car, and so we're going to run into the issue where it just looks kind of like garbage because it's kind of everywhere. So this is a really important step, and it's really important that you know how to do this step in Adobe Illustrator, in FlexiSign, in CorelDRAW, whatever your design software is. You need to know how to do this. This isn't something that I include in the templates because it just convolutes the template. It makes it more complicated because the reality is that a clipping mask is going to be left to what you decide, meaning maybe you don't want to clip the nose in, right? Or maybe you don't want to clip the spoiler in, or the sail panel, or whatever the case may be. You only want to clip the doors, or, you know, I wanted to leave the options open for you so that you can clip whatever it is that you decided to clip, and that you weren't subjected to a clipping mask that I created, even though you could easily delete it. But I think it's important that you make your own clipping mask, and that you know how to do that. And grab that nose piece. So I'll go back to this guy here. I'm going to undo that. I'm going to grab just the nose. I don't need all the panels or anything like that. And I'm going to size that down to 11. And then I'm going to bring it over like so, and just get it lined up. And again, it'll always line up because these two right here are the same. I don't need this open anymore. As these two. I created this template so that you could copy and paste everything here right over to this template with having to you might have to move stuff, but very little. And then I'm going to go ahead and align it. And now my nose is aligned there for the clipping mask that I'm going to need. Okay. And so in creating your clipping mask, let's make sure that the clipping mask is in the right layer. I'm going to put it in the graphics layer. So the graphics are off right now. Nothing is clipped currently, okay? But I'm going to want to clip them in the graphics layer. So what I do is I select what I want to be clipped, okay? And so in this instance, I'm going to want to do that nose piece. I'm going to want to do the spoiler here, and I'm going to want to do the door. And so that's what I'm going to select out of the panels layer. But I'm not just going to select them and move them. I'm actually going to copy them so that I always have a copy within my, so I always have a copy within my file that I can get back to if I need to get back to base. I don't like to work in a destructive workflow. So I'm going to copy this, I'm sorry, not copy. I'm going to select them, right? So I hold down Shift, and then I'm going to hold down Option, or if you want to do Control C, Control V. So like, let's say I was in Flexi, I might not be able to do the hold down Option thing. I can always just grab the the hot corner, and with all the things selected I want to be a clipping mask, Control C, Control V. Now in this instance it went right back to where it was on the canvas, but let's say like I pasted it in and it was right here or in the middle or whatever. It really doesn't matter because I have that hot corner to be able to line it back up. So now I can select these items and turn them into my clipping mask, and I don't need to be over here in my canvas doing it. I could be anywhere because I have this reference point. Okay, so a big mistake people make is they want to clip something. All right, this is going to be a lesson in clipping masks. They want to clip something and they don't know how clipping masks work, so they just start clipping things like this. I want that all to be inside of that, which that's what it means. And so what ends up happening is this, right? Where's our other shapes? Where did they go? So in order to make a clean clipping mask, all the shapes that are within that you want to be masked need to be combined together into one shape so that it references it references the entire shape while hiding it within that shape, if that makes sense. So this triangle, or I'm sorry, rectangle is going to be hidden, not hidden, but the extra is going to be hidden behind these shapes. So when I select this, this, and this, and then I say make clipping mask with what's underneath it, because it's always what's underneath. That's how you make a clipping mask. The bottom component gets clipped in. Okay, so let's look at our order. Let's get our stuff in the right layer first. Okay, let's look at our order. So we have the spoiler fin, we have the right side, we have the nose, or the elephant ears, and then we have the rectangle. So that's the right order. We got this last piece is on the bottom, okay, and that's what we want to clip in this instance. So if I select this, this, and this, and then say make clipping mask, what happens is the fin, the spoiler fin, it clipped everything. So all those shapes are still there, but they're being masked by the spoiler fin, okay? And that's not what we want to do. So we have to make a clean mask. I'm going to take these three shapes. I'm going to go to my Unite option, which this is called something different in Flexi. It's the button almost looks the same though. And I'm going to bring them together. Now they're one shape. And it inherited the shape that was on the top, right? The fin was this yellow color. And so now it's inherited that shape. Now, one thing I like to do Anytime I use the Unite button in Illustrator is I like to go make compound shape and then expand it. It just cleans the shape up a little bit. If there's any broken nodes or little points that don't need to be there, kind of gets them out, makes it a nice clean shape. So now I have one shape. It's no longer separate. I can't select them individually. It's one path. Okay, really important. Make a clean path for your clipping masks. Now I can select this rectangle and make clipping mask, and bam, now I see the whole thing, and no matter where I move it in the car, that shape is what's masking it. And that's what we're looking to do with our wrap design. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and exit out of here. I'm gonna get back. There we go. All right, so I've made my clipping mask. It's nice and clean, those three shapes. I'm gonna go ahead and delete that. We don't need it, it was just for an example. And then I'm gonna take these two, I'm gonna group them together just for now. And then I'm gonna go ahead and, I always say go to your bottom right. So whatever you're trying to align to, go to the bottom right, and then you're guaranteed when you go left, the leftmost object is gonna be the master and the topmost, right? And so now what's happening here is our mask is lined up directly over our car where we want it to be, okay? So now I can select this, or I can actually delete that out. So now the only thing that is there is the mask. And if I want to, I'm gonna go ahead and put it in my graphics layer, and I can name it, oh, see how it's something, oh, it was, I grouped it with the other thing and I didn't ungroup it. So it needs to not be a group. Make sure that that's important. Because remember, I grouped it with the triangle, okay? So even though I deleted the triangle, it still had the shape embedded into a group. Just FYI, that can create some confusion. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and take this, hide that for now. Put that up there. Well, and then I'm going to take this, and I'm going to take this, and I'm going to go ahead and just say make clipping mask. And now you can see everything is clipped inside the shape that we just did. So even that weird yellow shape that we have in there in the clipping mask, I can move that around, and it's all clipped into the shape that we just made a minute ago. See how it's not getting on the sail panel or the deck or anything like that, right? So everything is clipped in. Okay, so let's say I wanted to make another clipping mask for this nose area. Okay, so I might just need like the front of this graphic for the nose. So I would just go ahead and grab this. I'm gonna actually, let's see, what did I do up here? Oh, I see what I did. Okay. So I'm gonna size this back down again. This is getting a little bit into wrap design, but we'll just do it just for the sake of having the example, because somebody will ask. So we'll go back in. I got it sized down. And it doesn't really matter where the hot corners are at this point, as long as they're referencing the art correctly, meaning they're in the same place for the art. Okay. And let's say I just want just this piece here. Okay. I'm going to copy that because it's the right size now. And I'm going to bring it over, and I could just put it right here. I probably size it around or move it around a little bit just to get it so that it was right. Because you never, on the sides of these noses, you just never print the full size. It's not, it's like, it's a decal, and you got to think of it that way. Okay, and so now I'm going to use that nose piece, and I'm going to go ahead and create a clipping mask from that. And there we go. Now I have that graphic, and I can move it around in there. I went about that all wrong. So let's do this. When you don't have your stuff grouped and then you start moving stuff around, you can create a lot of problems for yourself. So you can clip the group. Okay, and that's what I just did there. And now I can get in here and grab the group and move it around like that. Okay. And so now that, because I did that, I could take this is my yellow color for now, and I could say, oh, I want my nose to be that color. I want my hood to be that color, so I can go hood filler. And, or I'm sorry, yeah, the hood filler, and then my my actual hood to be that color. And we could say nose filler. And we can say the hood, we can do, it's kind of like universal blue. Usually the blues are a little bit different, the plastic blues, but I'm not going to sit here and mix that up right now. And so you can see even this yellow shape. So if I wanted to get a decal within there, if I wanted, like, let's say this decal was going to land up in that spot instead. Now it's up on the spoiler because I created the clipping mask. But as soon as I move it away from that spoiler, see what happens there, okay? So it's within the clipping mask there. And so I could say, find the spoiler. And let's see, there's 2 spoilers because I got it down here and up there. I can get this guy out. Spoiler, do that, okay? And so you can see now the colors are starting to come together. And then the back doors, we're just going to turn them yellow so it turns that top line yellow, right? Okay, and then the plastic here. I'm just going to turn it that blue color. Kind of brings it together pretty well. Okay, and then that's how we are going to get our clipping mask in. So there's a couple other little things though that you got to make note of, is that the clipping mask for the nose and the side is probably going to be different depending on how you choose to set up your art. But now I want to make my area up here, I want it to have its own clipping mask. So like, let's say for instance, this car, there's a design, the design runs up onto the sail panel here, or there's some decals or whatever. So maybe I'm going to want a whole nother clipping mask up here to bring art into. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and take the panels from that layer. I'm going to unlock it. So just the panels. I don't want the light. I don't want the light and shadows or the rivets. And I'm just going to work on just this side of the car. Okay. And I don't have the layer right now, but I'm just going to go ahead and make it. So I'm going to make new layer, and then we could just say top graphics, right? Just so we have something to put our graphics in. And we want it below the light and shadows. Okay. The reason I didn't provide it is because I didn't want to have 2 different places for putting graphics. So you just need to create your own layer. Now I could do what's simple and just turn it yellow, right? Same with the roof. And just, again, turn it the yellow color like that. And then when I turn my light and shadow layers back on, everything looks pretty universal. But just for the sake of the video and being able to show you how this is done, I'm going to go ahead and make the clipping mask just so you know how I would do it, and then you can work through how you want to do it. So I'm probably not going to include the roof in that. I would just include these 3 elements here. And so for now, I'm just going to group them together, and then I'm going to duplicate them and then combine them together just like I did before. So they're one shape, and now when I change them, they all get changed together, and I accidentally did that. I included the roof, and I didn't mean to. So let's do that again. Okay, let me zoom in just so I know what I'm doing. Okay, top, grab that and this. Okay, now I'm going to group these 3 together, and I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it. So I've always got a base to get back to, and then I'm going to combine it, and I'll just turn it pink just so I know I'm working on the right thing. Okay, and so now, so let's say for instance I wanted, this isn't something I would typically do. It's not going to look great, but I want to show you just how this is going to work out. So let's say I wanted this graphic here to be up there. Again, this is not something I would normally do. In some instances I would, but right now this is just more for showing you how to do this. Okay, and I'm going to bring this to the top, right? And then I'm going to select it and make clipping mask, and then That didn't work. So let's see why. Oh, I see. I see what I did. Got to make sure it's all grouped together. Okay. Now I'm going to bring this to the front, and I'm going to select that and make clip mask, and then it clips it all in there. And so now the elements, and then you just turn your light and shadows back on, and then it's all in there. So if I was going to leave that, I would, like the way I resolve the bottom here, I would turn it blue up here and turn the blue or whatever if I had that luxury to do that. I also have this down here that's not exactly right, so I'm going to pull that. Pull that like so. Okay, and because I don't like that, but I just wanted to show you how I would do it, I'm going to take it out. I don't want that in there. Okay, so we'll remove that. And then I'm going to unlock everything. And I'm going to go to my panels layer. Graphics. I'm going to delete that out. So now we're down to our base colors for the car, right? And so that's basically how I would add the graphics in, those two different ways, or that one way, getting everything sized down from here and bringing it over to here. If you want to, if you choose, hey, I'm just going to work on this template, forget all this like working in real size and bringing it down, you can do that. You just turn everything off, right? That's kind of in the way. So unlock everything, turn it off, and then turn your panels back on, and then work on your panels. And then, you know, that's totally fine to do that. It's just not my method. Okay, so now I'm going to show method where this is going to, everything I'm going to do from this point on is going to be Adobe Illustrator specific. I'm going to show you how to set the car up in an action shot. I'm going to show you how to link the files so that when you update the wrap design, it automatically updates within the template without having to pick through the template. I'm going to show you how to put the motion tires on, and so we're going to go through that now. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the car up for an action shot. So think of this, don't think of this so much at this point as a template, as more like a render, okay? And so this is going to be a little bit more advanced. You're going to have to know how to do certain things and take some creative liberties in order to accomplish this look. There is no, like, in graphic design, like, oh, isn't there like a button to just make this look awesome? You know, I get questions like that a lot, like, hey, you did this, and like, how come I can't do that? And it isn't because you know, the template is, you got a different template than me. I'm like a huge design nerd. We'll sit there for like an hour trying to figure something out, where most people will become impatient and just say, forget it, you know? So I'll pick through art, make it complicated, and things like that. So this part that I'm going to do, it is going to be slightly complicated, but it's fun. And it adds just a little bit more dimension and dynamic to the design that makes it more fun to display and put in your portfolio. So let's say I wanted to get this car in more of an aggressive kind of, ignore the top and left view. If you can't tell, that's what I've been doing already. And what I want to do is I just want to take this side of the car and just this side, right? And I'm going to just slant it a little bit to make it look a little bit more like kind of aggressive, right? Doing that, I'm going to probably adjusting my shadow and things like that. Now, the tire labels, those are a separate layer, so you could delete those out and just put Hoosier on or put on whatever you want to put on. You can make your own up. And I'm going to delete those out. So you, like I was telling you, I was a design nerd. Like I don't know how many hours I spent building this stuff in here, but for some reason I just did that, you know, and I'm happy I did it and it looks cool. But the point is that these kinds of things, they take time. All right, so now I'm going to bring my motion tires in. Okay, so the motion tires, they're right here. Now in Illustrator, I could just drop them in. Now you could put the motion tires on in another design software too, but in Illustrator, it's just really quick and easy. So I'm just going to drop it in like that. So they're both there, and both of them are different. And the tires on the car are different too. One they got perspective related to where you're looking. And so you can see the top and left side, or right side and top and left side. People steal my tires all the time and put them on other templates, and they just take one and they like put them on both like that. And it looks it looks like they deserve, however they deserve it to look. It doesn't look right, is what I'm saying. I don't like that people take my tires and put them on their own templates. Like, build your own template. If you're building your own template, build your own template. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use this, and you can see they're going to be labeled. So I got, this is going to be right front in the links file. Let me see. Links. Oh, you can see it's right here. It says right, left, rear. Oh, wait. What do I got here? What am I doing? Right front and what's this one? Right rear. So you can see it. The names of the files are right in here in the links, okay? So right front, right rear, and that's right rear, that's right front. So I'm going to just bring these in, and I want to tuck them up underneath the car a little bit, because when one of these dirt late models is in the corner, it's almost like the nose, like, and the skirt are almost like scraping the ground. It's really, really, I mean, it's way tucked up in there, okay? Same thing with this one. I'm going to get it in there. I want to like tuck it up in there a little bit, right? Because the car really leans over super heavy when they are when they're in the corner like that. And so I'm going to have to go ahead and adjust the shadow, right? Because the shadow is going to be affected, right? And so that should touch that tire there, and this one should touch this tire just a little bit right here. And I'm not going to go through and like continue to edit the shadow in this video, but I would like really work and nerd out to perfect it. And so one other thing I will do is I'll go effect, path, or no, I'm sorry, gauze and blur like that. And then I'll do this, and it just kind of gives it a little blur effect, softens things up a little bit, makes them look a little bit cooler. And then I'm going to go ahead and take and duplicate that. Okay. Duplicate my shadow. The shadow on a template is kind of everything. It actually really makes the most difference out of everything on a template. A lot of guys, like I used to not include shadows, and now I look back and I'm like, what was I doing? Making choices apparently. And so I'll just combine these two, group them. And I got this little bit here. It's kind of annoying on the front. I'm going to actually continue to maneuver that a little bit like that. Okay. It's annoying right here. And so I can just clip that out. I'm not going to delete it, but I'm going to kind of make a little bit of a clipping mask here. And so just by turning this black, now I turn that black, I grab these two shadows, and you can see down here, and I'm going to say in the transparency panel, I'm going to say make mask, which makes the whole thing disappear. Then I'm going to hit clip. And what it's going to do is it disappeared, or it got rid of that in the front, and then it kept what's back here, and there's just a little clipping mask attached to it. And because we adjusted the car to put it in a stance, more of a stance position, some of this stuff is starting to show through, which is stuff we needed before. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this, and I'm going to go ahead and do the same exact thing. I don't want that to be visible. I don't need to do a huge shape, but I do want it to be, I don't want it to show up. And I'm going to go ahead and make mask and do that just like that. And so all that stuff, you can see it's still back there, but it's being clipped out so it doesn't pop out the bottom and look unnatural. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is clip these tires in. So what we're going to do is with this car in the stance position and all of this. So we're going to do another thing after this that's going to link this all together and make it work pretty easily. So I'm going to close that. And so what we need to do is create a clipping mask just for these tires, because we pushed the tires up in, but they didn't go up in. They are on top, and they need to stay on the layer they're on. So we're not just going to change our layer order. So we need to clip them. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this, and I'm going to grab that, and that's going to provide a perfect clipping mask for us. We've already done this once in the past, so I can, again, very easily just take this guy here, move it over, do this, and that. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn it black. In this instance, you need to turn it black. This is a different type of clipping mask, okay? And because we're essentially, when we say clip, we're reversing the clipping mask instead of having a clipping mask. It's kind of a little bit difficult to explain, so I'm not even going to try. Just do the steps that I'm saying to do. Turn it black, okay? So got the clipping mask now right back where it belongs. and we want it with the tires, okay? So I'm going to select that, which right now it's a group because we grouped it together. So I'm going to expand it into a path, okay? And I'm going to grab these two tires and I'm going to say make clipping mask. Now you see they're gone, but you see the tire right there and you see a little bit of that one right there, okay? That's because we need to, oops, did the wrong thing. select that, make mask, okay? Now that we made the mask, you don't see anything, but you're going to unclip. And what it did is it hid the tire that went past the panel, right? Okay, so there's one more step that we could do that would really add more dimension and dynamic look to what we're doing. Because when the tires get tucked up in there and the car leans over and the tire goes up into the wheel well a little bit, there should be a lot of shadow right here that gives it a little bit more photorealism. So I'm going to release the clipping mask, and for now I'm going to turn it pink just so I can see it. And I want to just create a rectangle, okay? Super easy to do. Just create a rectangle. And then you're going to put a transparent gradient on it. So I'm just going to bring black down here. And I'm going to bring this black, no. I'm going to bring this black down here. And I'm going to bring this one to 0, like so. And then I'm going to say -90, like that, okay? You can kind of see where this is going. You see the shadow going over the tire there, okay? And we'll size it down so we have a little bit more control over the gradient. We're going to do the same thing right here, okay? And now we have this kind of like shadow look over the tires because the car is leaning over the tires essentially. I'm going to bring this up just a little bit so I can select that. So now I'll take this and this and this, these 4 elements here, okay? And I'm going to group them together. All right, and then I'm going to make sure that the pink is on top, which I just brought it to the front. That's Shift Control bracket, right bracket. And then I'm going to grab it all, and I need to make a mask. So this needs to be black. If you turn, here's the issue. Say you don't turn it black. Let's say it's gray. I grab those, I make the mask, I clip it. You see how there's still an opacity to it? It's because we used a gray clipping mask. So whatever percentage of the color is there is how much it allows to show through. So when it's fully black, it doesn't allow any. So we say black. And then we're going to make mask, clip it, just like that. Now, if the shadows are too dark, which in this case they are a little too dark, we can just go in and adjust it. So first, I'm going to take, I'm going to go into my thing because this is coming down past the plastic and it shouldn't. Like so. And then I'm going to pull this one up past the plastic as well, just so that we're on point. Okay. And then this here could just get moved. Like that. And then I can just adjust my gradient to kind of show the shadow on the tire. See how it's adjusting there, right? And so you just adjust that according to your liking. Okay. So now that we have that set up, you can see the car looks like it's in motion. The tires are spinning. They're tucked up under the car like it's coming out of the turn. Usually on these cars, this gets tucked up even more. The tire gets tucked up way up in there. I could actually continue to adjust it, but then other things might start popping out the bottom of the car, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to keep messing, tweaking on it. Just want to make the video. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now. What I'm going to do is, now that I have the car in the stance that I wanted, this next step I'm going to do, I could have done it without doing all of that, without moving the car around. Could have just left it and then done this next step. But I wanted to move it so I didn't have to do this twice and then show you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all my layers closed up, because every time you click something, it opens that layer in the layer palette, which is kind of annoying. I wonder if there's a setting to turn that off. There might be. See, even right there, when I close that one, because something's selected in there, it kind of popped it back open. That's why it does that, okay? So we're going to go to Window, and we're going to go to Artboard. And on Window Artboard, we have one artboard, and that's this car right here, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and select it, and I'm going to duplicate it. And what it does is it creates, oops, we got one issue. We got to make sure everything's unlocked. Object, unlocked all. If it's not unlocked, if your items aren't unlocked, then what ends up happening is what's locked doesn't go to the second artboard, okay? So we're going to go ahead and bring that over. So now we have everything over here, okay, just as before. And I'm going to bring my graphic into this and then save it into that. And so the first thing I need to do is get rid of everything over here that I don't need. So I got hot corners I want to keep, and I got panels I want to keep. And I guess that's good for now. Panels and hot corners. So everything else, I'm going to select it and I'm going to delete it. So now you can see I got my hot corners and panels. I'm going to unlock all, but you notice, this is the hot tip. There's no unlock option, even though I have locked options, because I ticked them in the layer palette. You cannot use that shortcut. You have to go in here and untick them. Okay. So the other option is to hit Command 2, right? So now that's locked. Command 2, and then I could unlock it from here, right? And it unlocks. So that's just a kind of quirky little quirky little Adobe Illustrator thing. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this design, kind of redo the whole thing, bring it over. And I'm not going to do everything that I did before, but I'll just size it down for now. Because now that I modified my template, that 11-inch thing isn't going to work unless this template was at the same exact angle, which it's not. And so I'm going to bring this over, and I'm going to copy and paste it in, and then I'm going to size it up. Now, you can just assume, most of the time you're either going to design right on the template you're designing on, or, meaning you're not going to sit here and do this. Like I already had this design done, so it's kind of like it's not ready for the template that I just set up, is what I'm trying to say. I'm going to pull these over again. Let's pull that in a little. That. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and save it. And then I'm going to, if you want to know how to not speed scroll, hold down Command or Control, and then use your mouse wheel, and it'll go slower while it does this. Otherwise, you hold down Shift and it skips like to your next artboard, which is kind of annoying. I don't even know why that would be an option, but it is. Okay, so now we've got this saved into here. And so I'm going to go ahead and save this whole thing. And actually, I'm going to save it to my desktop just so you can kind of see how this works. Hit Test. Okay. Desktop. Save. And for now, I'll just save it as Illustrator. Click OK. And then I want to make sure I'm putting it in the right layer. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Put Graphics Here layer, right? And I'm going to say File, Place, and then I'm going to select the same file that I just saved. And I need to make sure that Link is selected and Show Port Options is selected. If those two things aren't selected, you're going to have problems. One, this link makes it so every time you update the file and save it, it'll auto-update within the file in the template. This is going to allow you to pick which artboard you're bringing in, which we're bringing in artboard number 2. So if this wasn't done, it would just automatically bring the first artboard, which is not what we want. So hit Place, and I'm going to go ahead and click over to 2 of 2, okay? And I'll hit OK. And it doesn't really matter where I place it. I could try to get it perfectly in there, but it doesn't really matter. I don't need to do that, okay? So I'm going to select my linked artwork. And when it says linked, the way you can find the link is go to links. And then you'll see it. It's right there. And you know it's a link because it doesn't have an icon. Any image that's embedded will have an icon. Any one that's a link, meaning it can be updated externally, will not have the icon. So I'll go ahead and bring this down to the right a little bit and then select the top left hot corner and click that and click that. And you can see it lines it up pretty much perfectly right to where we have it in the template. But once again, we need to create our clipping mask, which this is good practice. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click save because I want to save my progress. And then I'm going to go back into my panels layer. And I only need to clip the quarter panels. I really only need, in this instance, to clip the quarter panels. I don't really need the nose or the spoiler, but I don't mind bringing the spoiler in, this piece here. So I'm going to lock that. I'm going to lock that so I can grab that, that, and that. So I just hit Command 2 while I was selecting things to lock them so that so it would automatically select the things underneath. And so it did that. So I got 1, 2, 3 items picked. And so it's the door and quarter. It's the door and quarter. Well, now it's unselected because it just saved. So I'll go select it again. The door and quarter. Oops. The nose and the spoiler fin. Okay. And again, I don't want to take away from my original shape. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste these in while selecting my hot corner. The hot corners are everything and making sure stuff stays lined up. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and bring this together like I showed you before while making clipping masks. It doesn't have to be black because we're not making the transparency clipping mask. We're making the standard Adobe Illustrator clipping mask. I know this is the confusing thing about Illustrator is there's typically at least 2 ways to do everything, if not 3. And so it's all dependent upon what you're trying to accomplish. So I'm going to go ahead and take this, line it up here, line it up there, and make sure that it's over my artwork. So I'm just going to drag the little selected tab down to put graphics link in. Oops. And the reason it pasted into the hot corners layer was because I copied it when we had a hot corner selected. Okay. So now I'm going to grab my linked file. You can see it says linked right there. I unlocked it because we locked it a minute ago so that we could select this here. And I'm going to go ahead and delete the hot corner off my mask. And again, I'm going to make sure, oh, looks like maybe I had 2 of them in there. Weird. Okay. I'm going to make sure that this is a nice clean shape. So it says it's a group, which is not what we want. We want it to be nice and clean. And that was because I grouped it to that. And now I'm just going to take that and over top of the linked layer, I'm going to go ahead and make a clipping mask. Right click, make clipping mask, and it clips it right into the car. Now, if I wanted that to happen for every part of the car, I could have did every part of the car. I could have clipped everything. So for instance, I could take this and I could also take this here and this here, right? And this here. Well, we'll just focus on this side of the car for now. I just wanted to give you an example. Okay. And we could take these and we can duplicate them into the graphics layer and make another clipping mask out of them. So bring them together. Now I'm going to bring both together. So I got these 2 sides selected and I'm going to go ahead and make them one shape, make clipping mask like that. Okay. Nice and clean. And if you move stuff around on your template, you got to move it over here, right? The point is this is all already perfectly set up. And now I'm going to take that and I'm going to clip. Okay. Got to unlock my linked image. Make clipping mask. There you go. And now everything's clipped. So if I was to, for instance, bring this up here. It's a little too much. Okay, and I'm not going to fix the shadow on that right now because that's not my goal. But now I can do that. And see. I accidentally put that in there. Get all that in the graphic layer. There we go. And, you know, I would do it differently too, where I would have, you know, I would create more layers, like put graphics here, so background graphics, put sponsors here, put numbers here, put contingencies here, right? And so I would split them up so that it's nice and clean and easy to navigate. I wouldn't just throw all this onto one layer. I didn't add those layers because I didn't want it to be anything complicated. I wanted it to be something that was easy to navigate, and you need to be able to create that kind of stuff on your own anyway. So now we have this updated, this template that updates both sides of the car. So I could add the graphics over here and bam, they would be over there. Everything would just automatically update. But the nice thing is now, so we went through that process and it did take a little bit. This template is good for every one of your projects. So you don't have to come and set that up every single time. You set it up once, you save a master file, and you use that master file every single time so that you can not have to take 30 minutes to set up a linked file every time. So now I can, you know, if the client starts making suggestions or modifications, I can move that there, and then I'll save it and it'll show up over here. Now I want to show you one last little thing that you could do to your templates that, you know, when you put them in motion to really help them stand out even more. So now you can see I would just need to move it into a better spot. So. Okay, so let it save. So again, to make something look like motion, we're not going for photorealism here as much as we're trying to get it just to look cool and like art, right? So it's a good presentation. So I'm not focusing on the left side of the car. I'm just focusing on the right side. But what I like to do is like create little speed lines, okay, coming off of the car. And I don't like them necessarily to be integrated into the wrap. Like I don't want them to come off the wrap. I want them to come off of like the color of the car. So I'll just create a rectangle. And in that rectangle, I'm going to create a new layer first. I'm going to call it speed lines. Okay. And then move this from canvas up to that layer, and it doesn't matter, it could be right on top. Where did I put it? Well, I don't see it, so I'm going to create another one. Okay, and then I'm going to move that rectangle up there, and I'm just going to start snagging some of the colors from the car. So this blue color, and I'm just going to make one transparent and the other blue. So you can see blue. Excuse me. You just got to make sure that while you're doing this, your colors are the same. Like you can't do a white over here and a blue over here. It'll look muddy. So I'm going to go ahead and take this, transform it, rotate it 180 degrees. And now it's coming from the side of the car. So you can kind of see where this is going, right? And then I'm going to size it down. Like that. And then if I want this little blue streak to kind of come off the car, like the car is moving, just add it right in there. And then I can grab these two, do something like that. And now you kind of see you get a cool little effect. And then I'll do the same down here, something like that, right? And then I could do one up here and turn it yellow. And it just kind of makes it look a little bit meaner. I typically try to make it follow whatever angle is on the car. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that down, create my yellow one. Like that. And do this. Something like that. See, that kind of starts to look pretty neat, right? And you can thin them out even more. Now, I don't like them to be super bold. I want them to be there, but I don't want them to take over the design. Like, don't overdo it. This is not like a thing where you're like, that's such a cool effect, and then you put like 90 of them on. It's not what you want. You know, do a couple of them, or, you know, 4 or 5, and then, you know, something like that. It's like another one down here. And we could do a blue one here. Kind of runs across the tire. Like that. You want it kind of lined up with a corner though, like coming off of an edge. You don't want it just like floating out like in the middle of something. Like that doesn't make sense, right? It comes off of the edge. I typically don't like them to all be the same size. Like you want variation. It's just an art theory kind of thing. It's like you don't ever want something to look duplicated. So now you can kind of see with those speed lines on it, how it kind of looks like super mean and aggressive. And you can make one more color that's kind of a white color. And that one comes off of the tire streaks. So now I'm going to take white, add that in. If I do this, just a heads up. So like I got this white color here and I got this white color here. If I am going to create a gradient and I need to get another color, if I go between, it turns it into a mix color and it takes my global option away. Okay. But if I click over here up against the edge of the gradient bar, it keeps it as the same color that's next to the edge. So look, I want this color. If I go any other place, it's going to, in between these two colors, it's going to mix it. But if I go here, it keeps it the same. That's why you keep seeing me do that, where I create one and then I get rid of one. And I always like the option on my global colors. Because if I ever want to change it, like so, for instance, I'm probably never going to change my white global, but if I ever do, let's say I wanted it to be pink. See how it changed pink down here? And I didn't have to pick through the art to get it to do it. Okay, so that's why I do that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. Let's kind of get it a little bit lost in that spot, right? And I'll change the size of this one just a little bit, just so that it's not the same. Again, like I said, you don't ever want stuff to look duplicated. But you can kind of see like those speed lines kind of make it look super mean, and like it's actually going super fast. But like I said too, it's not something you want to overdo. So what I'll do is I'll grab that whole layer, I'll group it together, I'll go down to transparency, and I'm going to just turn it down to like 60 so it doesn't overtake what's happening. Okay, so now I just lightened up the opacity on it and really changed it. So that's the basic rundown of this template. A lot easier to work through, a lot easier to find the panels, turn off shadows, turn shadows on, remove the tires, add new shadows, change the roll cage color, change the deck color. Everything is modifiable, but I simplified the layers, made things easier to pick through. Now, one thing you might have noticed about this template as I was working through it is you can kind of see these like white lines around the tires, and you can just safely ignore that. That is just a preview issue in Illustrator. When I save this file out as a JPEG for preview, that is going to go away, and it's going to be a nice, crisp JPEG. So I'll go ahead and do that now. I actually have an action set up for saving cars just to save it as a JPEG so I don't have to go through the menu. And so now you'll see it sitting right here on my desktop. Everything is super nice and clean. That little white edge that you saw around that tire is completely gone. And now it's like super clean and looks really rad. So if you guys have any questions, you can always just leave them in the comments of this video. Hit me up on the support page, srgfx.com/support, or just message our page, schoolofracinggraphics.com on Facebook. So School of Racing Graphics, and you'll be able to find us.